Hello and welcome to today's show, and it's a big one. Arsenal will be facing Manchester City at Emirates Stadium. I'm your host, Tomorrow Collins. Before we get right to it, do remember to view, like, subscribe and share, and also drop a comment on the comment section down below. Hit that notification button so that you can be amongst the first ones to be notified when we do drop a new content. Let's keep the conversation going across all social media platforms and on Facebook. I'm at Molo Collins. Be sure also to give me your thoughts and views, and I'll be sure to sample some of them on our next show. I'll be also keeping tabs on all the matches taking place in this 8th week of the English Premier League this weekend. Well, let's get right to it, and we see that Arsenal, under the stewardship of Mikel Arteta, will be facing Manchester City under the tutelage of Pep Guardiola. Well, these two teams are no strangers to each other, and they've met a total of 207 times, Arsenal having a bigger chunk of the wins, having 98 wins against Manchester City, 64 wins, and they've drawn 45 times in that period which they've met. Well, these two tacticians are no stranger to each other. Remember that Arteta was under Pep Guardiola once when Arteta was deputizing Pep Guardiola in Manchester City. Well, let's look at the team's form coming into this match, and we're going to take a look at the 3 matches that these teams have played in all competition. And we see that Arsenal won against Brentford, and they've also won against Bournemouth, that is at the weekend, when they won by 4 goals to win. And they've just played in the UEFA Champions League against Lens, and Arsenal lost that match. Well, let's go and see Manchester City coming to this match form, and we see that Manchester City have lost 2 matches on the trot against Newcastle United. That was at the Carabao competition, and more recently against Wolves United, when they went down 2 goals to 1. That was in the English Premier League last weekend. And more recently, they've played against Leipzig in the UEFA Champions League, and Manchester City managed to come out victors. So it's not, the two teams are not in a very good form, going by what result they've managed to get in their last previous matches. Let's go and look at the log, and we see that currently Manchester City is perched at the summit of that log, having played a total of 7 matches. Manchester City have won 6 matches, they've drawn none, and they've lost 1, accumulating a total of 18 points. Well, Arsenal, on the other hand, is currently 3rd at the log, and they've also played a number of 7 matches. They've won 5, they've drawn 2, they've lost none, and so far Arsenal has accumulated a total of 17 points. Well, let's move swiftly to the formations, and we see that Manchester City like applying this formation of 4-3-3, and Arteta on the other side, more recently, yes, I've seen that he has applied a formation of 4-2-3-1. This means that Arteta likes using 4 defenders, then 2 sitting midfielders, then Odegaard operating as a creative mind, trying to feed the likes of Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, and of course maybe Nketiah or Jesus. Manchester City, on the other hand, coming into this match, Manchester City like applying a formation of 4-3-3, and this is a formation that Guardiola has been using for a number of years since joining Manchester City, and I do hope that Arteta is going to apply the same tactics. Coming also into this match, we see that Arsenal has been hit by a plague of injuries, and so far Martinelli is unsure to start this match, and we saw that also Saka was subbed off during the UEFA Champions League match against Lens, and the other player who has also been missing in action is Trossard and Partey, who is making a comeback. I say that Partey was sitting at the bench when Manchester City played, when Arsenal rather played against Lens. And on the other side, we see that Manchester City have had Kevin De Bruyne, who has been on the sick for a very long time, and he has been injured, and Manchester City have really missed Kevin De Bruyne. And we also saw that Bernardo Silva managed also to get some minutes when they played against RB Leipzig. Also Kovacic also was named in the bench. And coming into this match, I think it's going to be a very difficult match and a very entertaining match in that matter. Because remember that when these two teams met this season, that was in the opener, that is the Community Shield, and Arsenal went on to win the match on penalties, and after the match ended in stalemate, that is 1-1. Well, let's look at the tactics coming into this match. We've seen that Arteta has tried so many options, and he has tried to experiment a lot in this Arsenal side, and we saw when the season started, we saw that Partey was being deployed as a fullback, and we see that Kai Havertz is the one who has been pushed to play in that midfield role. And on the other side, we saw also more recently that Pep tried to play Akanji in the middle of the park when they did face Leipzig in the UEFA Champions League. Well, many will try to diverge into this match and say that the one that will go on and win this match will set the pace moving forward in the title race of the 2023-2024 season. But it's a bit early to mention that any team that wins this match, of course, will have a very good season going forward. Well, both tacticians are very ambitious in every sense, and they are not likely to be associated with any failure coming into this match. And I know that Pep, Guardiola and Arteta, they know each other a lot, and they are going to do a lot and make sure that their team try to get a win coming into this match. One particular player that I would like to single out is Bukayo Saka, who has been on a very scintillating form for Arsenal, giving in assists and goals week in, week out. And maybe if he has a knock that he received during the UEFA Champions League, I think that Arteta will really miss Bukayo Saka, because so far Saka has been on a blaze, he has been on a rampage, and I think that he's doing wonders for this Arsenal side. Well, on the other side, we see that Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, more recently has not really trusted Haaland, and we saw also in the Champions League that Haaland did not start this match, and I hope that he's just preserving Haaland for this big match against Arsenal. Well, both teams have a very free-flowing, fluid midfield. Arsenal midfield is very functional, and we see that the likes of Declan Rice and the likes of Martin Odegaard has been pulling the strings in that midfield, covering every blade of the pitch to make sure that Arsenal grind those wins if it comes to that situation. And we see that Pep Guardiola on the other side, this time somehow, yeah, he has been winning, but somehow not doing it like the way we are used to Manchester City winning matches without struggle, and that may be to the fact of De Bruyne getting injured and also Bernardo Silva getting injured, and we've seen that also Rodri is not performing to the level expected of him this season. Well, many will argue that Arsenal have an home advantage coming into this match. Of course, home advantage is going to play a very crucial and pivotal role into this match against Manchester City. And Guardiola on the other side is also plotting something when it comes to his former student, that is Mikel Arteta, and we are yet to see what will happen in this match pitting Arsenal and Manchester City. Of course, it's going to be a very explosive match because we've seen that these teams have a plethora of talents. They have an array of attack, and it's not going to be a match of just waiting and seeing what will happen. I think that these two teams will come into this match, try to size each other up and see what will really happen. And it's going to be a very open-minded game because both teams do like to set up their play in possession. Have a very big chunk of possession, but I think that Arsenal, with the pace that they have forward with the likes of Martinelli and Saka, they are going to attack on intervals and also on counter attacks coming into this match. And the other thing that I may just like to single out is Arsenal goalkeeping department. We've seen that recently that Raya has managed to outdo and push out Ramsdale, who has been an Arsenal #1 showstopper in between the sticks for a number of seasons. But now Raya has managed to take that spot for himself, and of course he's going to be in between the sticks when they do face Manchester City, and it's going to be a very exciting match because both keepers, that is Ederson and also Raya, like playing with their feet. So it's going to be a very tactical match between Arsenal and Manchester City coming into this match. Haaland, on the other side, I think that Haaland has a lot to prove, and if given a chance by Pep Guardiola, I think that is going to trouble Arsenal defense. I remember that that Arsenal defense is marshaled by Saliba and also Magalhaes and Ben White, and I think that Zinchenko is going to have that slot on the left side of that Arsenal defense. And if Arsenal are not really really on the lookout, I think that Haaland may really cause some damage. And we still don't know the real first 11 for Arteta this season, because we've seen that sometimes at the tip of that attack there's Nketiah, sometimes there's Trossard, and also sometimes there's Jesus. So we can't really tell what system or what kind of player that Arteta is going to use in that attack. And as for Manchester City, it's an obvious one. Haaland will lead the line and will be helped and flanked by the likes of Phil Foden and also Bernardo Silva, or maybe the signing that they've just acquired in the name of Doku. Doku so far has managed to score 2 goals for Manchester City coming to this match. The more recent one he scored was against RB Leipzig, which Manchester City went on to win the match by 3 goals to 1. And this is the first 11 that I'm expecting for Arsenal coming to this match. And we see that Raya will be in between the posts, then will be helped by the likes of Magalhaes and Saliba in that center defense. Then Ben White, of course, and Zinchenko will take the other 2 slots on the wings. Then in the middle of the park, then we'll have Declan Rice acting as a sitting midfielder and also being helped by Kai Havertz. Then Odegaard, Saka, Nketiah, and of course Martinelli, if he will try to slot in the rest of the positions for Arsenal. And on the other side, expect Ederson to be in between the sticks for Manchester City. Then he'll be helped by the likes of Akanji, Walker, and Aki. Then there'll be Jack Grealish. There'll be also Ruben Dias and Haaland and Gavidiol, who was just signed from RB Leipzig, and of course Lewis. And I think that is the first 11 for Manchester City.